The New Teen Titans Volume 1. So this is the third video I've done now in the New Teen Titans. I started with the New Teen Titans Volume 5, then I jumped back to the New Teen Titans Volume 2, and now I'm on the New Teen Titans Volume 1. Obviously, Volume 1 would have been the logical place to start this series, but I'm getting these books out of the library. Somebody already had Volume 1 checked out for a number of weeks, so I'm doing them out of order. I've already talked about my history with the New Teen Titans in the previous videos, and I'm going to try not to repeat myself too much. But as this is Volume 1, I think we have to talk about the origins of these characters at least a little bit. So apologies in advance if I repeat myself. But yes, the New Teen Titans Volume 1, written by Marv Wolfman and art by George Perez. So this collects the first 8 issues of the New Teen Titans from October 1980 to June 1981. November 1980 to June 1981, and also contains DC Comics Presents number 26, when these characters were first introduced. We'll come back to that later. And it contains an introduction by Marv Wolfman, where he talks about his history with the Teen Titans and how he came to create them. So let's flip to the back here, where we have pictures of the New Teen Titans here. The New Teen Titans were a relaunch of the original Teen Titans, which ran in the late 60s and mid 70s. And in the relaunch of the New Teen Titans, Marv Wolfman and George Perez continued some of the classic characters and also introduced some new characters. So Robin and Kid Flash and Wonder Girl were all established members of the original Teen Titans. And then there was also Beast Boy, who was a guest star on the original Teen Titans. Now, they changed his name to the Changeling. I guess they decided that would be more marketable or memorable or whatever. So he was also a pre-existing character, although not one of the main characters. But then they also created 3 completely new characters for this series: Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. So this was a combination of established characters and completely new characters. And as Marv Wolfman says in his introduction, this proved to be a success. The original Teen Titans had not been a huge success. They had been briefly popular, then they petered out. They had 2 titles that had gotten canceled before, but this had a lot more legs on it. And Marv Wolfman talks a little bit about why he thinks this new series was so successful. And I think he might be onto something here, so I'll just try and summarize what he was saying. He talks, first of all, about how each of these characters had set up some sort of generational conflict. Almost all of these characters had set up some sort of generational conflict. So, for example, Starfire, her parents had sold her into slavery. Vic Stone is angry because his father had turned him into a cyborg. Raven's mother was a victim of an interdimensional demon, and her father, of course, was that interdimensional demon. And then, I mean, even with the classic characters, you know, Robin has some sort of conflict going on with Batman, etc. So there's the intergenerational conflict set up. But then he talks about how he set up 2 sets of triangles. So there's the male characters and the female characters. So with the female characters, we have Donna Troy at one end of the triangle. So she's kind of the strong, level-headed leader. And then there's Raven, the extreme pacifist who would never fight, versus Starfire, who was a pure warrior. And then the men also had a triangle. So Robin was the leader. And then there's Cyborg, who was the angry young man. And then Changeling, who was the Joker, but also had these deep insecurities. So the way that they were setting up these characters to play off of each other was apparently thought out very meticulously beforehand. And when you read these stories, certainly in my opinion, the strength of these stories is the engaging character dynamics between the Teen Titans. It's still finding its feet in these first few issues, but it's there a little bit, and it will only get better as the series goes on. So I've talked about in the previous video about my history with the New Teen Titans, how I found them in the early 90s, mostly in the back issue bins at my local comic book store. The very earliest issues were hard to get a hold of. So most of the issues I have were the issues after the Judas contract. So most of the issues in this collection I was reading them for the first time. There were two exceptions. The first one was DC Comics Presents here, which gave a preview of the New Teen Titans. This one was reprinted at some point in, I believe, Tales of the Teen Titans. It was reprinted at some point in one of the Titans books in the 1980s, and I bought the reprint of this story from the comic bin. And then the other one I had was issue number 2. Let me find that one. Yes, issue number 2, which I bought from the back issue of my comic book store in the early 90s and paid $15 for it, which seemed like an exorbitant amount to spend on a comic book at the time. You can see this was 50 cents when it came out new. I bought it for $15, and it was priced at $15 because it was the first appearance of the Terminator, who would go on to become one of the great villains of the New Teen Titans, and DC Comics eventually gave him his own title at one point in the 1990s. I have no idea what that would be selling for now. And, this is a very common story, but I no longer kept my old comic book collection, so all these old issues, which I paid some chunks of money for in some cases, I just gave to my brother, who I don't know what he even did with it. But yeah, I wonder what this would be selling for now. At any rate, I had it at one point, and I paid $15 for it. But aside from those two issues, everything else in here I was reading for the first time, and it was interesting to me to see in these early issues kind of the origins of a lot of the stuff that would be reoccurring elements in the New Teen Titans. So I'm going to do what I usually do, which is start at the beginning, go through and talk through everything and give my opinions about everything, and we will see how far I get. I will probably not get all the way to the end. This camera has a 30-minute time limit. That's after that, it automatically shuts down the video file. But I'll give my opinions on everything until we get there. So yeah, it starts off with a preview issue, which I guess was given out free in comic book shops at the time, to preview the New Teen Titans. So in this issue, Robin is... There's a hostage crisis in Star Labs. Star Labs is where the super scientists work in the DC universe. Robin is supposed to go in and rescue the scientists and take out the the terrorist, but he keeps getting dizzy and having these visions where he's with the new Teen Titans. But he doesn't know who they are. I mean, Cyborg and Starfire and Raven are completely new. Beast Boy he knows, but he keeps calling him by the name Beast Boy instead of Changeling. He doesn't understand what the rest of them are doing there because the Teen Titans broke up years ago, or in the DC continuity, I'm not sure what this would be, months ago. But anyways, so he keeps going back between this adventure he's having with the Titans, and then when he comes back to real life and he realizes he fainted or something and had a vision. And it's a little bit unclear which one is the real world or which one is real life and which one is just him dreaming. Well, he and the Titans, at least in one of these realities, fights this big yellow blob. And then at the end, it looks like he's back to normal reality, and it was all a dream, except Victor Stone's dad from the blob reality appears as one of the star scientists. So this causes him to become confused. And then we see that Raven has either been looking into his thoughts or has been causing this vision because she knows about the dreams that he has had and knows that it's foretelling the future. So, yeah, this is a bit of an odd beginning here. Now, on the one hand, it makes perfect sense as a preview of the New Titans, because we can't show the origin of the New Titans. That's going to be reserved for the New Titans #1, where they have their origin together. But we have to preview what kind of adventures they will be having. So how do we preview their adventures? Will we just show Robin having visions of this future? So from a marketing standpoint or from a storytelling standpoint, I get what they're doing here. From an in-universe standpoint, though, it doesn't seem to make any sense to me, because what is going on here? Where are these visions coming from? Is Raven giving Robin these visions? I don't think it was ever established that she had that kind of power, but maybe I could be wrong. Raven's powers have always seemed kind of mysterious to me anyways. But then if she has that power, why is she doing this? I mean, it seems like she's putting his life at risk here. He's got a hostage situation he needs to deal with. He's running up here, he's being shot at, and then while somebody is shooting at him, he blacks out and has these visions. So, and then it's later revealed that the police chief had to tackle him to get him out of the path of the bullet. So, yeah, if Raven is giving him these visions, this seems like a rather pointless way to put his life in danger. And why is she giving him these visions anyways when she's... it doesn't really seem to make much sense. There also... Yeah, this is going to be an ongoing complaint throughout my review of Volume 1. I'm not sure how far I'll get before I run out of time, but... if I don't get to everything, just know that this would have been an ongoing complaint throughout my review, is that the villains are all just weird and don't lend themselves to good action sequences fighting the villains. So this yellow blob is a perfect example. Like, what fun is it to watch our superheroes just fight this blob? This is an ongoing thing throughout these early issues. That Marv Wolfman and George Perez have great character dynamics, but they just have the worst villains showing up here with the Teen Titans. And then there's also the question of where does this fit into the larger continuity? Did this really happen? Or is this a fake vision of the future Robin has been given? We find out later on in one of the much later issues that Cyborg's origin story has to do with this interdimensional blob, which his father accidentally summons from another dimension. And here they're fighting this interdimensional yellow blob, which I guess his father accidentally called in from another dimension. So, here we go. It's all my fault. I brought it here without thinking. So, what's going on here, huh? Okay, but moving aside and getting to the first issue here, we have a tie-in with that preview issue. So Dick Grayson, a.k.a. Robin, is still having nightmares about that vision he had about the new Titans fighting the Blob. But then he finds out that these characters are real. Raven is the one who's responsible for forming the new Titans. We don't find out until later why she formed them. Although, to jump ahead slightly, she formed them to help her fight against her father, who is an interdimensional demon. And they have a fight against these aliens who are pursuing Starfire. Now, okay. When they're all fighting these bunch of green aliens, this, in my opinion, works. So these are villains that have fight sequences that are much easier to follow and more enjoyable. And then, and then at the end of this, the new Teen Titans have been formed with some old characters and some new characters. Let me jump ahead here. Starfire, I kind of hate to say this because I'm going to sound like my mother, but Starfire is perhaps the weakest character out of these new characters, or at least she's the most unrealistic female character. Although, I don't know. It's always trouble when a male critic tries to imagine what a female audience member would think, or what a female reader would think. But, Donna Troy, she's a solid character. A solid female character. Raven is a solid female character. Starfire just seems like kind of a male fantasy about this gorgeous, horny alien creature whose outfit is a bit ridiculous. And here's where I'm kind of sounding like my mother. My mother always criticized the outfits that women wore in superhero comics. And I never really thought twice about this when I was younger. I just thought, that's what comic book characters look like. But that is kind of a ridiculous outfit, isn't it? Okay, I've got that out of my system. Let's get back here. This is the first appearance of the Terminator, which is why this comic book cost me $15 back in the early 90s. Now, it starts off on the very first page with the Terminator here as if he's already an established character. But he did not appear in any of the previous issues. This is the first time you see him. And the Terminator's son, what's the Terminator's son's name again? Grant? Yes, Grant Wilson. Takes out a contract on the Titans with the Hive. So the Terminator himself initially wants nothing to do with the Hive and their contract. But because his son takes the contract, he gets sucked in as well. Which is, yeah, I guess setting up the Terminator as a villain with some redeemable characteristics. And as the years go by, he'll have a bit of a character arc where he gets redeemed a bit. And the Terminator, of course, is going to go on to be one of the defining villains of the New Titans. But after issue number 2, he doesn't appear in this collection again. Then we go to the Fearsome Five. Now, the Fearsome Five is another reoccurring villain for the Teen Titans. And this is their first appearance here. So Dr. Light is an older character. I believe Dr. Light had been an antagonist of the original Teen Titans. But the rest of the Fearsome Five, I think this is their first appearance here. Now they will go on to fight the Titans many times in later issues. But it was interesting to see their origin here. I never liked the Fearsome Five. I always thought they were way too weird as supervillains. And the reason is they're just way too powerful. So there's Simon, who has these psychic powers where he seems to be able to control everything with his mind. And how do you even fight against a character like that? I mean, you can't. He's way too powerful. The way he is defeated is if you catch him off guard. So like if you sneak up on him and hit him in the back of the head or something when he's not looking. But there's no way to take him out in a direct fight. And then the other character is Shimmer, who can change anything into anything else. So she can take any object and change the molecules into something completely different. With both Simon and Shimmer, you think that they would just be able to destroy the Titans immediately. Like Simon here is playing with the Titans, putting young Flash into an unstoppable whirlwind. But given the seemingly omnipotent powers he has, you'd think he could just cause young Flash to explode. I'm not sure if there's some sort of rule that Shimmer's powers don't actually work on people. But yeah, I mean, she's able to change the floors to poison gas. And she's saved here by Raven showing up and teleporting everybody away. But yeah, again, I mean, how do you even fight against a character like that? And this problem is going to continue when we get to Trigon, Raven's father, who is another character who's just way too powerful, which consequently makes the fight scenes against him weird. But before that, we have the Teen Titans versus the Justice League of America. So this is the obvious showdown or obvious pairing, right? So you have the Justice League of America and you have the Teen Titans. Like I said, when I was reading the Teen Titans book in the early 90s, the issues I had, the Justice League would never appear. In fact, it was very rare for any of the main Justice League characters like Superman or Batman Wonder Woman to appear in the new Teen Titans comics. Every once in a while they would appear, but very sparingly. I'm not sure if there was some editorial policy regarding that, like, you know, Batman and Superman, we have to preserve their scarcity to keep their brand special or something like that. But they hardly ever appeared in the Titans comic books, even though obviously Robin and Batman have that connection. So the later New Teen Titans comics, the Justice League would never appear. But here, I guess in issue 4, we have the pairing that makes sense. The Justice League versus the New Teen Titans. Although the Justice League at this point is a little bit thin. So there's no Superman. We do have Batman and Wonder Woman. There's no Flash, which, you know, we've got Kid Flash here. So if we had Flash, we could have the sidekick and superhero showdown. But I guess at this point in continuity, for whatever reason, this must have been what the Justice League was like at DC Comics. So anyways, we've got a story here about how the Justice League is trying to defeat the magicians. They don't actually know that these magicians are the only ones holding back Trigon, the interdimensional beings. Then Trigon, or the Fantastic Five, at one point is controlling the minds of the Titans. So the Titans, being mind-controlled, are fighting against the Justice League. That goes on for a while. But then the Justice League is attacking the magicians here, and the Titans have to stop the Justice League from attacking the magicians, because the magicians are the only thing holding back Triton. And then, of course, we have this showdown between the younger generation and the older generation. You big shots really blew it this time. Those sorcerers you were so anxious to get rid of, well, they were the only thing to stop some creeps named Trigon from destroying our world. And after this, it's revealed that Trigon is now going to invade and destroy Earth. Now, what doesn't make sense here, there's a few things that don't make sense. We understand that the Justice League was attacking the magicians that they shouldn't have attacked because of the misunderstanding. But then once this misunderstanding is cleared up, it's not clear to me why the Justice League doesn't help to defeat Trigon. Like, why is it just left to the kids now to defeat Trigon when it's established that Trigon is a threat to the whole universe? Like, he's going to destroy all of Earth and I think all of the universe. It's also, there's an allusion made to the fact that Raven had previously contacted the Justice League to get them to help them defeat Trigon. The Justice League turned her down because they sensed an evil in her, or at least Satana did. Now, I actually was wondering if I missed an issue where Raven had previously contacted the Justice League. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I couldn't find any issues. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. But I guess maybe we're just meant to imagine that there was an off-screen place where Raven contacted the Justice League. Okay, I am just about out of time, aren't I? So I've only talked about half the issues in here. There's a whole nother half I haven't talked about, but that's okay. Sometimes you don't get to everything. But yeah, to summarize, some interesting character dynamics in the New Titans, which would only improve as the series went on. even though some of the villains and some of the fights are just a little bit strange and weird.